There comes a point quiet, bleak, and brutal where the world seems to conspire against your very soul. Where breath becomes a burden, where each step feels like war, and every voice inside and out whispers the same lie: give up. This is the breaking point, not the edge of your strength, but the birthplace of your defiance. Most will fall here. Most will shatter. But you are not most. You are the strike that cracks the earth. The scream inside the silence. The force that doesn't fade, it builds, burns, and breaks through. The chains, they're trembling. The doubt, it fears you now. Because you've tasted the storm. You've bled beneath its weight. And still, you rise, not polished, not clean, but carved into something the darkness can't consume. You don't escape the fire. You become it. They don't talk about this place, the itch. The place past reason, past logic, past the cheerfully wrapped lies people tell themselves to survive. No. This place is where light doesn't reach and silence screams the loudest. It's where your knees hit the floor, where your fists meet walls, and your breath turns into ash. It's not poetic. It's not cinematic. It's just pain, pure, relentless, unfiltered. That's the breaking point. Most people, they crumble here. Not because they're weak, but because they've never seen the abyss blink back. They were taught that struggle was a phase, not a destination. That doubt was a warning, not a test. So when the pressure builds, when the weight becomes bone deep and the fight feels like madness, they fold. They say, it's too much, and convince themselves that survival is in retreat. But not you. You're still standing, aren't you? Barely breathing, maybe. Crawling, bruised, bleeding inside your own mind, but not broken. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you dangerous. Because the breaking point wasn't built to destroy you, it was built to reveal you. You were made for this war. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You need resistance. Because resistance creates pressure, and pressure creates fire. The same fire that melts chains. The same fire that turns scars into armor. The same fire that silences the voices of doubt until there's only one voice left, yours. Hardened, grounded, unyielding. Every time the weight pressed down and you refused to quit, it wasn't just survival. It was transformation. Most people wear masks to get through the day. You tore yours off and stared into the darkness until it flinched. You learned to keep going without answers. You bled with dignity. You shattered, reassembled, and kept your soul intact with nothing but grit and a pulse. And still, they'll call it luck. They'll say you got through it like you weren't clawing at the walls of your own destruction with bloodied hands. Like you didn't carry the silence of the nights where giving up would have been easier. They don't know the cost. But you do. Because this pain had taught you how to feel everything. Every second of suffering etched something into your bones. And what it etched wasn't weakness. It wasn't loss. It was power. You are not surviving anymore. You're evolving. And that breaking point, that myth they whisper about to scare people from trying too hard, you wear it like a badge. Because it's not the place you gave up, it's where you woke up. And this is just the beginning. The darkness doesn't frighten you. It knows you. It remembers the night you stood toe-to-toe with everything trying to crush you and said, "Not today." But you are not finished. There's more ahead, more chains to snap, more weight to carry, more versions of yourself to destroy and rebuild. The next war is coming, and it doesn't knock. It arrives like it always has, uninvited, merciless, hungry. And you're already walking toward it. They told you chains were unbreakable, that some burdens were just part of life, that struggle was something to cope with, not conquer. But you were never built to carry lies with a straight back. And these chains, they were never forged stronger than your will. They were just older, more familiar, whispering lullabies of defeat, coiled around your limbs like silent ghosts. But not anymore. You felt the strain, the torque between who you were told to be and who you truly are. Every moment you chose to resist, even when it would have been easier to surrender, those chains cried out. Not loud enough for the world to hear, but deep inside. A quiet cracking. The birth of rebellion. Because here's the truth the weak can't stomach. Anything that can crack, can shatter. You are not the prisoner. You are the hammer. Not a clean one. Not polished or pristine. You are battered, worn, and edged with rage. Every blow you deliver is carved from sleepless nights, silent tears, and invisible battles no one will ever applaud you for. But every impact matters. Every strike carries weight, your weight. And over time, even the strongest steel begins to fracture beneath the persistence of pain and purpose. The chains will try to lie. They'll whisper that you are not strong enough, that you've struck too many times and nothing's changed, that the cracks don't mean anything. They're wrong. The cracks mean everything. They're signs that the walls are failing, that the system designed to break you is beginning to strain, that your agony hasn't been in vain, it's been the battering ram. You haven't just endured the storm. You've sharpened yourself with it. You've chosen the harder path, the one with no map, no sympathy, no guarantees, and you've dared to keep walking. This isn't metaphor. This is warfare. Your mind is the battlefield. Your body is the front line. Every day you wake up when you don't want to. Speak truth when your voice shakes. Keep moving when your legs are failing. That's another strike. That's another fracture in the false reality built to cage you. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to break out. But here's what most don't understand, what they'll never understand. The moment right before the chain snaps. It's hell. It's not the relief of freedom. It's the crushing doubt that maybe you were wrong. It's the weight of everything telling you to stop, to rest, to quit. That final moment isn't glorious. It's not cinematic. It's ugly. It's raw. It's silent and screaming at the same time. Your knuckles bleed. Your soul trembles. You wonder if you've made a mistake. That's when you hit again. One more time. Harder. Through the fear, the doubt, the agony. Because at that exact point, the one where most would collapse, you rise. You choose to rise. Not because it's easy. Not even because you're certain. But because there's no other way. Because if you let these chains live one more day, they'll rewrite your name into something you never agreed to be. And you weren't born for shackles. You were born to shatter them. So hit again. And when your breath fades and your fists shake and your vision blurs and the world says, just let go, don't. Not yet. Because that sound you hear, the tiny reverberation like a gasp in the metal, that's the break. That's the beginning of the end for everything that ever tried to silence you. And this war isn't over. There are still walls ahead. Still locks to pick. Still chains to break. The fire isn't done with you, and you're not done with it. The hardest part has arrived. Good. Now we strike harder. And so here we are at the threshold, where the air is thick with doubt and the silence becomes violent. This isn't just another dark night. This is the night. The one that drags its claws through your soul and asks, are you sure you want this? The one that doesn't whisper, it screams. Loud. Ruthless. Personal. Everything in you wants to let go. To retreat. To collapse into the warmth of false comfort. And no one would blame you. This pain? It's blinding. The pressure feels like it's collapsing your ribs from the inside out. The urge to quit, it doesn't come as a thought anymore. It lives in your bones, wrapping itself around every heartbeat, begging for mercy. But mercy doesn't forge freedom. This is the moment, the one they don't put in the stories. The part right before it all changes. Right before the light breaks through. Right before the chains fall and the scars mean something. It's ugly. It's raw. It's you versus everything. And make no mistake, the resistance here is not accidental. It's designed. It's the gatekeeper of transformation. The test that asks, do you really want it? If you falter now, you go back to the start. Back to pretending. Back to being tame. But if you push forward, if you crawl, if you drag your broken body across the glass of your past and say, I'm not done, then everything starts to shift. The resistance breaks. The path clears. But you must earn that moment. This is where fear does its finest work. It speaks not in shadows, but in memory, reminding you of every time you failed. Every time you believed you weren't enough. It sharpens itself with old wounds and slices into the skin you've been growing over years of surviving. And still you don't quit. Why? Because this pain, it's familiar now. You've learned its language. It no longer owns you. It just tells you where the pressure is weakest. The louder it screams, the closer you are. The breaking isn't the end. It's the beginning of the shift. And those who walk through this moment, the few, the scarred, the relentless, they don't walk out the same. They walk out free. Not because the world gave them a gift, but because they took it through will, through fury, through the sheer refusal to be caged. This isn't about feeling strong. It's about choosing not to fall, even when every cell in your body begs you to. It's about staring the abyss in the eye and saying, "You had your chance. Now it's mine." So when you feel the quake in your chest, the war in your mind, the scream behind your eyes, that's when you hold the line. That's when you push with everything left. That's the crucible, the separation. Because this is the line in the sand, the one drawn not by fate, not by fear, but by you. And once you cross it, there is no going back. No more chains. No more silence. Only the aftermath of becoming who you were always meant to be. They talk about success like it's an accident. Like it happens in the right place, at the right time, to the right kind of person. As if it's passed down, gifted, inherited, wrapped in smiles and circumstance. But you know better. You've seen the guts of it. Success isn't pretty. It's not a gleaming trophy or a well-lit photo. It's the bruises beneath the armor. It's the mornings you didn't want to open your eyes but did anyway. It's the 1,000 invisible battles no one claps for. The ones that leave no witness, just wreckage. It's not talent, not luck. It's the refusal. The refusal to bow when your spine is cracking. The refusal to stop when everything around you begs for stillness. The refusal to believe the world when it tells you you've gone as far as you are meant to go. Success isn't given. It's taken by those who are willing to be the last ones standing in rooms echoing with silence and doubt. And you've made an art out of refusing to fall. You weren't shaped by comfort. You were carved by pressure, cut by loss, forged by discipline. Where others sought escape, you built resolve. Where others drowned in defeat, you grew gills. You didn't choose the easy road. You chose the real one, the one soaked in rain, laced with jagged truth, and littered with ghosts. Because you knew what most don't. Willpower is the ultimate weapon. It's not loud. It doesn't come with a marching band or dramatic entrance. It shows up in the moments that seem meaningless to others. When your hands are shaking, and your breath is shallow, and the room is filled with no, you whisper, yes. Again. And again. And again. Willpower is staying when others leave. Trying again after again has already failed 10 times. It's sitting alone in the dark and still planning your next move. It's building when there are no blueprints. It's dreaming when the world laughs in your face. And you have it in spades. They don't see it. They see calm eyes and quiet determination. But inside you is a war, a scream, a wildfire that refuses to burn out. Every time they told you to quit, you sharpened your teeth. Every time they said you couldn't, you added weight to your backbone. They gave you doubt. You gave them defiance. Because you don't just chase success. You drag it, kicking and screaming, from the depths of your own undoing. You build it from broken pieces and stubborn hope. You don't wait for the storm to pass. You become the storm. Every second, every step, every scar, it's not luck, it's war paint. Prove that you fought for every inch of ground beneath you. So when they ask what drives you, don't say anything. Just keep moving. Keep grinding when no one's watching. Keep fighting when it doesn't make sense. Because one day, when the dust clears, and the silence finally holds reverence instead of shame, they'll look back and realize something brutal. You didn't win because you were gifted. You won because you wouldn't die quietly. And from this moment on, the story isn't about survival. It's about dominance. Freedom. The word tastes sweet in the mouths of those who have never earned it. It rolls off tongues like a promise, clean, noble, weightless. But you know the truth. Real freedom. It's terrifying. Not because it hurts, but because it holds up a mirror. Chains are familiar, predictable. They hurt, yes, but they give structure. They offer a villain to point at, a cage to rattle, a reason to say this is why I can't. They wrap around your choices until choices no longer exist. Comfort, in the form of control. Routine, in the shape of confinement. But then the chains break. You win. And suddenly, the enemy disappears. No one left to hate. No prison bars left to grip. Just a vast, echoing space where every step is yours alone. No map. No savior. No more excuses to bleed behind. Just you and the weight of infinite possibility. That's when the real terror sets in. Because with freedom comes ownership of your choices, of your failures, of the bruises you can't blame on anyone else. There's no system left to curse. No puppet master to defy. Every motion, every breath, every scar going forward. Yours. And that's why people run back. Not because they're cowards. Because the unknown is a void. And chains, no matter how cruel, give a shape to the suffering. They offer the illusion of safety, of structure. People don't crave comfort, they crave certainty. And nothing is more certain than the same misery you survived yesterday. But you are not them. You didn't fight through hell just to choose a prettier cage. You're standing in the open now, every demon behind you dead or dying. The silence you once feared now wraps around you like armor. You've outgrown the cell. The fire you forged in has nothing left to consume, so it turns outward. Because you didn't just want out. You wanted more. More than survival. More than peace. You wanted to build, to lead, to own every part of your life, even the darkest corners. And that takes a kind of courage most never touch. You are terrifying now. Not because of your rage, but because of your calm. Because you no longer need to fight ghosts. Because you've become someone who doesn't look back. Who doesn't blame. Who doesn't break. Freedom is not a gift. It's a burden. A throne that burns its air. And you sat in it anyway. Not to escape but to create. To become a blueprint for everyone still shackled. To prove that liberation is possible and worth it, even if it costs everything. You'll be misunderstood, feared, hated, even. But you'll never be owned again. Because once you've walked without a leash, once you've screamed into the void and heard your voice echo back as truth, you stop searching for permission. And that's where power truly begins. They never tell you that escaping the cage was the easy part. They paint freedom like a finish line. Like once the shackles snap and the door swings wide, the pain fades and the path clears. But that's fiction for the faint-hearted. You know what comes next. The real fight begins the second the chains hit the floor. Because what comes after isn't peace. It's ownership. Raw, ruthless, unforgiving. No guards to blame. No walls to curse. No puppeteers behind the scenes. Every decision yours. Every failure yours. And success, it doesn't come with applause. It comes with weight. Because staying free is a grind. A choice. Not once, but every hour, every breath. You don't get to drift anymore. You lead or you crumble. Most people don't want freedom. Not really. They want escape wrapped in comfort. A fantasy where they can fly without ever having to steer. But you've tasted the void. You've walked through the aftermath of your own uprising. And now you stand in the open with no leash, no master, and no excuse. That's the terror. That's the truth. Because now, if you fail, it's on you. If you fall, it's because you closed your eyes. And that is a responsibility most can't shoulder. That's why the world is full of people who broke free, only to crawl back. Not because they were weak, but because they weren't ready. Discipline is the chain that holds freedom in place. Without it, you spiral. You don't drift back to chains. You choose them. Quietly. Subtly. Telling yourself it's temporary. That comfort is earned. That this pause is self-care. And before you realize it, you're back in the cell. Decorated with new distractions. Sure, but a cell all the same. But not you. Never you. You didn't burn down your old life just to walk in circles. You didn't shatter the illusion just to build another cage. You know the taste of ownership. And now, even when it cuts, you bite back. Because power, real power, comes not from control, but from mastery. Of self. Of time. Of choice. From the discipline to say no when everything inside screams yes. From the strength to wake up when no one's watching. From the will to keep building in silence when the world has already moved on. You are not chasing freedom anymore. You are freedom. And the world will try to test that. Offer temptations in soft voices. Slip chains into your hands disguised as gifts. You'll be tempted to rest, to forget, to relax your grip. That's when it happens, not with an explosion, but with a whisper. What if you stopped trying so hard? But you won't. Because you know what's on the line. You know what it cost to get here. And you know that nothing, not talent, not luck, not even rage can sustain this path. Only discipline can. Only the daily, brutal act of choosing your highest self over your easiest one. You've met your demons, made peace with them, used them. But now comes the true war, not against chains, but against comfort, against drift, against the part of you that wants to coast. So you build rituals. You set rules. Not to restrict yourself, but to protect the freedom you've earned. Because you are no longer just surviving. You're leading. Every choice, every action, every scar writing a new reality. A blueprint made not of pain, but of power. There's no going back now. Not because you can't, but because you refuse. You didn't just break the chains. You became the one who never needed them. No one is watching. Not really. The world doesn't stop for your pain. It doesn't lean in for your victories. There's no orchestra swelling when you rise from your knees. No spotlight cutting through the dark when you grit your teeth and push forward one more time. It just turns cold, uncaring, endless. And maybe that's the most brutal truth. No one cares. They won't see the nights you didn't sleep, the mornings you screamed into your chest so no one would hear. They won't see the choices, the real ones, the ones where you gave up comfort, gave up company, gave up everything soft just to chase something real. The kind of real that doesn't hug you back. The kind that leaves scars. There is no applause, no parade, no reward for the war you fought behind your eyes. But you never did this for the crowd. You did it because something inside you refused to stay quiet. Something refused to rot in a life that fit but never belonged. Something refused to settle for a fate handed down from dead-eyed mouths and broken traditions. So you rose. Alone. And that's what they'll never understand. That this isn't a phase. This isn't a motivational poster or a highlight reel. This is your normal. Every day is a battlefield. Every thought a negotiation between the fire in your chest and the storm in your head. Freedom isn't a flag. It's a burden. A constant, silent, merciless reckoning. Every single day it demands proof. Not from the world. From you. Proof that you still deserve it. That you are still willing to bleed for it. Still willing to walk forward when every cell begs you to stop. There's no contract. No safety net. Only choice. Daily. Relentless. Yours. You've burned too long to turn cold now. You've bled too deep to forget what it cost. They can't understand why you keep going. Why you work like there's a war in your shadow. Why you push when there's no finish line, no trophy, no hand reaching out to catch you. They call it madness. You call it truth. Because this isn't about winning. It's about refusing to lose. About knowing that the second you stop, the second you let go, the world will rush in to reclaim your fire. And you won't let that happen. You don't rise for the applause. You rise because you can't stay down. Because something inside you made a choice. Maybe not out loud. Maybe not even on purpose. But a choice all the same. This is how I live now. No backup plan. No end game. Just forward. And in that silence where no one sees and no one claps, you become unstoppable. There is no in-between. That illusion, the middle ground, it's the most seductive lie of all. A soft chair between action and decay. A waiting room for the cowardly, dressed up in words like patience and timing. But deep down, you've always known, you're either moving forward, or you're being pulled back. Slowly, quietly, brutally. There's no pause button on this war. You either rise or rot. No one will tell you this. The world will celebrate compromise. Will cheer you for surviving instead of building. But you were never meant to stay lukewarm. You were born for the extremes, for the storm, for the climb. Because only at the edge do you remember what you're made of. The truth is, every step matters. Every second counts. Every choice is a chain breaker or a chain reinforcer. And it doesn't take grand betrayal to fall backward. Sometimes, it's the small, silent surrender. The shrug. The not today. The false comfort of old stories replaying in your skull like a curse you forgot how to stop. Go back far enough, and you'll hear the voice again. The one that told you you're not enough. That this is too hard. That there's always tomorrow. Lies. Every step forward suffocates that voice. Every action, no matter how small, is an act of rebellion against who they told you to be. It's not about motivation. Not anymore. That burns out. This is about ownership. Ruthless, honest, unwavering ownership of your pain, your progress, your power. You either own your story or you let it own you. And make no mistake, going back, that's a choice. Staying still, a choice. There is no neutral here. Not anymore. You didn't bleed to get halfway. You clawed through hell for a reason. And that reason wasn't to pause. That reason wasn't to rehash the past or find comfort in excuses wearing new clothes. It was to build something unshakable, a self that won't bow, won't drift, and won't disappear when it gets hard. You know what waits behind you. You've lived it. It aches like memory. It chains like routine. And it will welcome you back the second you hesitate. So don't step back. Burn the map. Cut the ropes. Take the next step. Limp if you have to. Crawl. Drag your rage across the floor like it's the only thing keeping your heart beating. But keep moving. Because every step forward, it weakens the chains. You're not just escaping anymore. You're evolving. And there's nothing more dangerous than a soul that refuses to return to its cage. This isn't the end. This is the war cry before the next chapter. You didn't come here for comfort. You came for confrontation with your limits, your demons, your silence. And now, you carry something most never touch, clarity soaked in fire. This is dark triumphs where pain is power, scars are scripture, and every setback becomes a weapon. Here, we don't whisper victories. We roar them from the edge. So if you're still breathing, still burning, still refusing to bow, then don't look away now. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more voices forged in the dark, and yours is just getting started. Remember the name. Remember the fire. Dark triumphs. Where freedom fights back.